up, people? It's Sunday, and as you know, Sundays are for driving.
As you know by now, Sundays are for driving. And as you might also have guessed, today is the greatest day in the history of the Sunday Club. And today we are driving the Mercedes-AMG C63. Taking the car up on Angeles Crest. But before we get into the fun, let's bore you a little bit with the specs and information. So the car comes with a 4-liter twin-turbo V8 engine that produces 470 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque. And because it's a twin-turbocharged engine, all the torque that you need is available to you at very low RPM. So it makes it a lot of fun down the straight. What's also really cool about this car is that even though it's not the top of the line C63S, and even for a C63 it's not fully decked out with all the cool options and everything, but still you have this feeling that you are really driving an AMG product, and you get that experience and that feeling in every aspect of the car. When you're looking around, whether you're looking at it from the outside or from the inside, everything speaks Mercedes-AMG. So let's get a little bit into it. The 4-liter twin-turbo V8 is mated to a 7-speed automatic transmission, and the car comes with a limited slip differential as well. And all this performance is packed into 3,800 pounds of curb weight. This car is about as good as it gets for the price. I think given what you're getting, the quality of everything, the badge, the AMG brand, and the performance, and you know, for us car guys, most importantly, the beautiful sound, the exhaust note is absolutely worth it. When I picked it up this morning, I was super excited, and I turned it on and I revved the engine a couple of times. And that was before I discovered the Sport and the Sport Plus modes, in which the exhaust note gets turned up a little bit. In comfort mode, it's a little bit more quiet in case you don't want to wake up your neighbors at 6 a.m. But once you're up here, you can put it in Sport Plus and you can rev it as much as you want. The crackle on the downshift is crazy. In comparison to older AMG models, it's a little bit more harmonic, it's a little bit more designed, the exhaust note, but the older AMG engines, I remember, had a little bit more of a mechanical sound to them. Not quite to the level of a Porsche, but a little bit more than, say, a Maserati or a Jaguar F-Type. The exhaust note of this car is just a tiny bit more designed in that way, but you still have the very raw sound of the engine coming at you in high RPM. My first in-person interaction with the C63 was at LA Auto Show a few years ago, and I just remember I was immediately in love with the hips. So one of the main visual differences between the C63 and the regular C-Class is that aside from the body panels, the bumpers, the rear bumpers, the front bumpers, the spoiler in the back, the different wheels, the 19-inchers, the big brakes, the AMG brakes, and the skirts, the main difference is the fenders. The fenders on the AMG models are a lot wider and a lot more muscular than the regular C-Class. And I just thought immediately that the moment I saw it, I thought it was insanely cool. It has a great stance, and just in general, the lines and the proportions of the C-Class are super cool to begin with, and then you sort of AMG it up and you make it into this cool sports car, and it's just absolutely amazing.
I love the surfacing on the fender. This has been done beautifully, and I'm just in love with how clean and how sophisticated the surfacing is.
For sure. And that's also very much visible in the beautiful reflections that you see on the side panels of the car. The surfacing, as Gordon Wagner likes to put it, is sensually pure. And the design of the C-Class, I think, was one of the most sophisticated out of any car in the market today. And that high level of quality actually follows you to the interior as well. Again, like I said, this is not the top of the line model. This is not the C63S, and it's not even the fully decked out C63. You don't have the cool bucket seats or anything like that, but it gives you the feeling, the premium feeling that you'd expect from an AMG product. Everything is so well put together, everything is well designed and well manufactured. You really get that feeling of the touch of German engineering. You have your triple vent, your screen up here, buttons and controls, a pretty cool Schaffenhausen clock over here. I think they've done a really good job of simplifying your center controls in comparison to older Mercedes models, and this thing I think is one of the better navigation controls in the industry. It gives you a lot of options. You can either write in your command on this touchscreen right here, or you can use the knob to select through your navigation options. And overall, I think the MBUX program has improved significantly from years past, from the older Mercedes models, and it's a lot easier to use and is a lot easier to work with. Another cool thing as you start the car also is this little cool front view of the Mercedes-AMG C63. One thing that is worth noting though is that it is a Mercedes-Benz after all, and from my experience driving it earlier today, either in the city or on the highway, you really do feel like you're driving a Mercedes. It gives you the same comfort. The ride is really smooth, and on the highway you barely hear anything. And of course, whenever you so choose, you can get it out of comfort mode and put it into Sport or Sport Plus, and you can rip it. Whether you just want to show off while you're driving through town, you want to let people hear your exhaust note, or you want to come up here like us and go on Angeles Crest and really test out the handling. Speaking of handling, it is just crazy. I think I'm spoiled in that I've been driving a lot of really lightweight cars recently, but for a car that weighs almost 4,000 pounds, it's surprisingly nimble on its feet. The steering feels really tight and precise, which is really good. You don't have quite as much road feedback as you would in a little sports car, but it handles really well. So since we were talking about practicality and daily use, it's worth noting that the estimated EPA fuel usage is 17 in the city and 23 on the highway for the C63.
That's pretty damn good.
It's not bad actually, you know. It's if you consider the fact that it's a 4-liter V8 engine.
Yeah, it's a V8 engine. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it makes close to 500 horsepower.
Yeah.
If you're worried about driving your big V8 every day to work and polluting the environment, or even if you're worried about your fuel cost at the end of the month, or how many visits you're gonna take to the gas station, it's not that big of a worry, honestly. 17 and 23 is something that you would get in the mid-2000s from cars with 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder engines. So again, it captures the essence of Mercedes and it captures the essence of AMG perfectly.
One of the very interesting features that helps the user experience a lot is when you sit in the car as a passenger, this is the first thing you're welcomed with, and it pushes your seatbelt out and it welcomes you in the car, and then as soon as you buckle in, it pulls it back, and I think it's a very interesting experience. You feel safe in the car. Of course, the Mercedes-Benz electronic seat adjustment is just great. It's so easy to interact with. And another thing that I really like is interacting with the buttons on the dashboard. It's like they feel very premium, they're very tactile. That's one thing I really like about having analog controls over digital controls, is that you can design the feedback, and even the vents, when you're moving them around, they kind of snap back in place, and it's just satisfying. So satisfying.
Overall, I'm really impressed by the interior design. I think everything's very well thought out, everything's very well put together.
Yeah, everything is in reach, everything feels they're at the right place, and you just feel really comfortable. Ergonomics.
And with that, I think we're ready to head up and see how it does on the canyon roads. All right, you guys ready for this?
Pulls you again after you turn the car on.
Stable through corners. Like, it's incredible. I've never driven anything like quite like this. I mean, I know it sounds scared shitless when I corner, but let me tell you, I have every bit of confidence that I'm not even using 50% of the car's handling potential, because I don't trust myself. What's funny is that a few minutes ago, as we were filming, a guy in a BMW M4 stopped by us because he wanted to show his kids the C63, and we were like, yeah, sure. And they wanted to hear what it sounds like, so we turned it on, we revved it.
Yeah, the kids get so excited about it.
The kids looked like they were scared of the sound of the crackle of the exhaust. And then the dad was like, well, I can't lose this.
Yeah.
He turns on his BMW M4 and he starts revving it super high. And
he just seemed very insecure about it. Like, he was like, oh, I'm losing this battle.
Yeah.
I can't be embarrassed in front of my kids.
Yeah.
It's just so funny.
Let's just say that we're not really in the same level. I also have an affection in my heart for the classic AMG sounds, the really mechanical, the ta-ta-ta. The fact that you could hear every stroke like a hammer strike, and I really love that. But I think this car actually manages to capture the best of both worlds in that sense, because you still have that raw roar of the engine, but the exhaust just never lets you down, especially in Sport Plus mode. It's just something else. It just sounds so good. I honestly can't imagine it ever getting old. I cannot say enough good things about the C63 and just the way it drives. It's just insane. Forget about everything we said about the design and how much we love it and how sophisticated it is. Forget about the sound, forget about the handling. One thing that is just as impressive as every other aspect of the design and engineering of this car is the effect of the twin turbos. And you really feel it in the amazing throttle response. Oh my god!
So quick. It's crazy.
Oh my god. all I can say is holy it's so good. The one thing that has been characteristic of all C63s in the past as well is just how extra they are. They're like they're such divas. They're so dramatic. Everything about them is super dramatic. You can take it from the exhaust note, the engine, design, the big hips, everything. It seems like the AMG goes all out with every single iteration of the car. So it's been a freaking amazing experience up here. A lot of fun with the C63 here today with Ehsan. So we're gonna wrap it up. Be sure to check out Perry the Persian's review of the C63 as well. And we'll see you next week for another episode of the Sunday Club. Peace out, people.